Well, we're at that time of year where we're bouncing back and forth between some nice days outside, some crappy days outside. Karen wants me to get some indoor projects done before I start spending more time outside, so we're still wrapping up this bathroom. As usual, like I said, every step of the way there was something fighting us. The drain here was just didn't line up with the old drain. I got help from my neighbor doing the PVC on that, which it was a two-man job. And I took a stab at dealing with PEX, so I thought I'd kind of give that a try. I bought the tool for it. I learned a lot about PEX in the last couple of weeks, and I thought it'd be a good preparation if we build a cabin down in southern Ohio. I could do some of the plumbing down there and use PEX instead of sweat and copper pipes. Next step will be the drywall around here, and then a floor, paint, and we'll be all done. Karen's working on a project too. I guess maybe that's more of a project for me than for her, but she's making a little quilt. You'll get to see the finished product at the end of this video, so just stick around and check that out. And before I get to the main project, I'm wrapping up my arcade machine here, and I'm going to be ready for the electronic innards pretty soon, getting the monitor set in there and all the wiring and switches. So it's coming along pretty good. I'm just finishing up putting the molding on here. I got a little coin door down there I put on. So all that work is going to be done, and it's just going to be time for the electronics. This is kind of just at my leisure when I'm maybe upstairs working out, and I spend 15 minutes here, a half hour there on the arcade machine, and hopefully I'll be done pretty soon. Well, it's been probably about 3 months since I've had my backhoe on the back of the tractor. I took it off when we started getting some snow in later December, and this is the first time I'm putting it back on. I've had it on my backhoe cart the whole time. It didn't bleed down too terribly sitting on there, and it doesn't go back on too difficult. Sometimes you can struggle with this after it's been sitting for a little while and everything kind of bleeds down, but so far putting it back on hasn't been that hard. Just before I put on this BX Expanded Quick Connect kit, I'm going to take care of something that's been bugging me for a little while. Started happening in the winter. My culvert pipe was starting to get clogged up. Got some pretty decent branches going across it at the very bottom. So I just want to yank them out and clear it, because we know we got some heavy rains coming for the spring. Probably be a great application to have a thumb on here, but I'll give it a go and see if I can do without. Just wanted to clear out the longer branches that were stretching across both of the pipes. So in the future, when we get a good rain going here, it'll probably wash out the rest of that debris down there. So I mentioned in the earlier episode that I got my Quick Connect for the BX Expanded Ripper blade, and then this Quick Connect will also work with other attachments, say a trenching bucket. Basically this is how it came, right in this box here. There's very minor instructions. Basically, it just says to pull the pins on here and install. About 4 steps. So when you order it, you have the option to order extra pins, and I did not. And it came with 2 pins and then a quick connect pin is what I'm going to call it. It's basically the same pin, but it just uses a snap ring to get it in and off quickly, and that's the one that'll be used on all your attachments that you're going to swap out on your backhoe. Basically, if you're just going to have your bucket and one other attachment, you don't need to order any other pins. So I didn't order extra pins, but it comes with 3 of them. I'm assuming it can only go on one way, although I did hear that the difference between the John Deere and the Kubota is it goes on backwards, or it's in reverse. So that's just a comment somebody left on one of my videos. So I don't know if that's true or not. But when you order it, you do say which tractor you're ordering this for. So I'm assuming that you would get one for the 260 backhoe. If you watch an earlier video where I reviewed the BX Expanded Ripper, I just swapped out the ripper and the bucket, and it was a pain in the butt unless you had this quick connect attachment. It's almost a must for it if you're going to be switching back and forth. One thing I'll say is at that time was the very first time I took the bucket off, and it showed. This time I'm not dealing with it on the ground. I have a little table set up here so I could work at a normal height and not have to bend over. You're also going to get involved with a little bit of grease when you take out the existing pins from your bucket. So just prepare to have a little greasy mess on your hands. Maybe keep a rag handy or wear gloves. You're going to use the existing pins to put this quick connect back on. There's an open end part of the quick connect, and that should be facing the tractor if you see it there on the top of the quick connect. Another lesson learned here is that I didn't put the final mounting bolt of the bucket back on until I had everything on there. I thought I would not put it on until I knew it was going to fit properly, but that bolt will not make it on. It's a little bit longer than the one that you use with the 260B backhoe. The one that BX Expanded gives you doesn't allow you to mount it, so I had to take the bucket back off and then mount that bolt. All the attachments that you're going to want to use with your backhoe, for instance, this bucket is always going to have one bolt mounted on it. You see it there on the upper left. That's the same for all your other attachments. And then this one is basically like a quick pin. It's got a snap ring on the one end and a welded pin on the other end that allows you to make it easily adjustable. So I got a couple comments on this, and I believe I mentioned it maybe a video or two ago that I was going to be putting this thing on. And some people had issues with it because the quick connect is going to change the way that your bucket sits on your backhoe, that the contour is going to change, and you really got to be consciously aware of this now. So if you go in here to try to just do the curl function of the bucket, it's going to actually scrape on the first arm of your backhoe. So it'd be really easy if you're just used to putting your bucket to bed and not having it curled all the way before you take your second arm that's on your backhoe and bring that in to scrape or possibly even do some damage to your first arm. Now I got a lot of comments that people are very much aware of this and they bring it up, but to them they don't think it's any big deal. They like having that quick connect. It works good for them. Some of them have the trenching bucket, they have the ripper, and they just jump back and forth, and that's one trade-off that they're willing to give up. So I'll use my last pin on the ripper. I'll keep it on there. If I ever decide to get another attachment, let's say that trenching bucket, then I'll have to get another pin to go with that. I would suspect once you get proficient at this and swap these attachments out a couple times that it would be very similar to using your loader and the quick connect on the John Deere loader. And you could sit in the operator station and just release this bucket and swivel over your arm of the backhoe and then attach it to another attachment. Before the quick connect, the ripper was able to be put to bed without scraping any of the arms of the backhoe, but this is going to be the same deal as with the bucket of the backhoe that it's going to hit. I cleaned most of the grease off of those first two pins that I took off just so it was easier to work with, so I'm just going to re-grease those connections real quick. I'd put the tractor away for the night, and this is the next morning, and you can see that the bucket bled down and it is touching the first arm of the backhoe. If you weren't aware of this and you were driving around and doing a bunch of work, bouncing around going up and down the driveway, you'd probably scrape a lot of the paint off of that upper arm. And that's going to be a constant. It's going to constantly leak down every time you use it. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I got what they call skateboard tape or friction tape, and I'm going to put some of that on there. This is just to protect it when that bucket bleeds down and you're driving around and you don't realize it. It's definitely not going to stop it from being protected from a frontal assault, or if you directly drive one of the teeth into there using the hydraulics, it's going to scrape right through that tape. But for the most part, I'm going to try to be consciously aware of it and do my due diligence not to do something like that. Okay, that's going to do it for today. Next week I'm going to put the ripper in the bucket to test, swapping back and forth. I got some stump work to do, cleaning up some stumps and what to do with those stumps after you got a bunch of them dug out. So come check it out next week. Hope you enjoy these videos and subscribe, and keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.